All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October meeting of the Community Board 3 Parks, Recreation and Waterfront Committee. Susan, is Trevor going to speak to everyone?
He's able, yes,
He's
able to speak whenever he wants.
Okay. Is there?
He has his camera on.
Okay.
I
Trevor,
don't
is
have
there-
any. I'm just saying that although I am here to participate in the meeting due to some issues, I cannot participate as a member in attendance. So Diana is going to chair the meeting. I will participate, but for purposes of attendance, I will be marked absent.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. So before we get started, we have two people. No, are we gonna do?
Yeah, you will.
Roll call first, sorry.
Okay.
All right, scratch that. Ryan is going to do the roll call and the approval of the minutes. If you have any concerns about the minutes, say so now during the roll call. Kevin Holland?
In vote.
Is it, he's absent. Mark's absent, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. Diane Lake? Present. Brian Gillum, present. David Adams?
Person.
Carlin Chan?
President.
Catherine Freed? Valentina Jones?
President.
Nancy Collins? Present. Daisy Paez? Present. Daniel Tano? Zachary Thomas? Josephine Velez? Yes. Kay Webster? Robert Money? Tal Rodette? Okay, thank you. So now we have two people who would like to make some public remarks. Tonto, we go first.
Yes.
You want to come up here? Come on up and tell.
Okay, my name is Tom River. I've seen the website,
You come here, the camera can see.
okay. My name is Tom River. I went to the website for the Parks Department. They changed the history of the East River Park. There used to be information about how Resiliency opened the park because there was a lot of crimes, so they opened up the park, wrong park, so everybody could have their own area. Now all that history is gone. I know it's a part of Trump thing, or I don't know. But I just wanted to know why we took it all. The information is just it's not there no more. But you know, I always check out information, histories and everything like that. They just took it all. Okay, that's it.
You segregated the park?
Hmm?
I'm sorry, I had to raise my hand to ask a question.
Okay, Carl, go ahead.
Is that a segregated park or something? Yeah.
No, John Lindsay opened that park because there was a lot of crime. And it was the wrong park to keep everybody away from each other, to keep calm down. So that's everybody calm down, so that's why they opened parks, so many like little parks that you could hang out and understand. But that's one thing, because I always read the community parks. I seen like one day, like 2 months ago, and I seen it, they took all the information. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Talk to the parks department.
Yeah, the process, this is the process.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so we're gonna get a report from the parks manager and then talk. No, and we'll talk about it next.
So was it off the website or was it off in the park history?
Yeah, the park history, they changed the whole thing on
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
it, yeah.
All right, well, let's see what if parks can do it anyway. When you do your update.
Yeah, thank you.
Fine. Okay, thank you. And then we have Samuel Vasquez.
I'm gonna sit down now, do I have to?
Samuel, if you come over here, we'll be able to see you.
They can't see you.
Okay, I heard.
Come over here.
Yes, you do.
Let's see how- You need to.
That's the match. Take time.
After the hearing, let's hear the questions.
Whatever you want. Leave me anyone, always having a sheet for board or participation, community as well as leadership. 2 years ago, I brought a concern, to the board's attention. I was happy at that moment in time. It was a park in the community, a park that was destroyed with capital D, right here in Lower Manhattan. The capital, the world, money moves to it every day. We still have the park 2 years later, we was assured that the park was gonna be done. If they, I don't know, I must have been playing around park, must have been putting it around. The homeowner started calling people up. I did get an update, but it took 2 years to get an update. Leadership giving information to residents, I don't understand that, that's it. Leadership giving residents, it took me a while to dig out that dirt. There was a lot of dirt in that park, Susan. You know, don't cover up the dirt and give me the good story, I don't want the good story. I like the dirt because the dirt helped me get the job done. 2 years ago, I didn't know nothing about this park. I live in the village, I go work out, just to keep myself strong, keep myself going with this mad work every day. Yeah, I got a resolution today, yeah, the park commissioner called me today, so why did it take 2 years for a resident who filed a complaint to find out the truth about the park? Thank God, we still have good people in leadership, our community board 3, some of them felt what I felt. A park shouldn't be abandoned, not alone Manhattan, New York City, and especially in District 1. Not in District 1. South Lawrence, yes. East New York, yes. But Lower Manhattan, couple of blocks away from City Hall, come on, this is a joke. I'm throwing it out there. People made me feel bad, it was like I was doing something wrong. This was a good thing for the community system. Thank you for all of it. I'll be good for 10 minutes. Yeah, no, okay, no, thank you for the extra time, sorry, people. There was something there in me, I like to see it done. We had, I don't know, this is the leadership. We had a problem with the youth along the Madison Strip. You have gang members, you have youth, junior high school kids, joining gang members all around, different things. They don't care about it, I'm letting you know, I'd rather see them in the park working out, doing what he's doing. Instead of, going back there, you know, their own people, for nonsense. Whether it's a journalist, they can be aware, that's not supposed to happen, not if they know Manhattan. Come on, let's say to it, say we're take that, how you speak, like you started, because you put, he's going to put you good. Come on, let's get this little corner back here, where, where the rights and the people of the world don't work class. And I can say this, as a resident coming out of college, I participated in learning community board 3. All I can say is thank you for the learning experience, and I'm going to keep on continue learning and bringing things in front of the board. I'm just hoping that you keep an open mind and let's move it ahead as best as we can for everybody. The top there is good. We don't be looking good, but we try to be good. But let's let the way we try to look good. Thank you, God.
Thank you, Samuel. So about your question?
No, I'm assuming you're talking Corey, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have to, I would have to say that, there's a Friends of Corbett's book. And they do a variety of activities there, and I have to say that they are ethnically diverse, because I think they recently did something that was Asian oriented, and I think, and just the fact that we're sitting in the MP3 settlement, they're doing a variety of things in the community. I think they have, some kind of festival or something coming up, so their things over in this area. I think maybe what might be good is maybe some additional outreach or something super but all this book does things, MP3 does things, and I think, I don't even know the name of this park they're doing it in, but they're doing it in parks down here, they're doing it, not call this so, but I don't know what they call this park, one behind what used to be junior high school 12. It's right there to Atlantic. So they're doing things down this way. They might just need to do something better with outreach. But
Yeah,
yeah,
some youth never does, but
What you're talking about, the agent, that was a big thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got to get that. So we are now going to go into the other items on our agenda. Karen usually will remind you of this, but I'll do it this time. The way this will go is that we'll go one item at a time. We'll let the presenter give their entire update, and then we'll take questions. First, we'll take questions from the committee. Then we will take questions from any members of the board who are in the audience, either here or virtual. And then we will take questions from members of the public, and then we'll wrap that up and we'll go on to the next item. Ask you to take, no more than 2 minutes with your question and allow some time for an answer so that we have time to give everybody a chance to speak and have their questions answered. And if there are questions that, can't be answered, we can we can arrange for someone to take that back and figure out what they can tell you about it, okay? All right, so first up, we have the Parks Manager update.
Thanks for having me, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Luke Isaiah. I'm the District 3 Manager for Parks. The first thing I want to report is we have for the next 2 weekends, it's going to be our planting weekend. So we have bulbs and other plants going in parks all across Community Ward 3, including Tompkins Square Park, Luther Kulik, Sarah D, First Park, Pier 42, Seward, likely a few others. So that's hopefully the parks look even more beautiful in another few weeks. And the other thing just on that note is I wanted to say kind of thank you to the community. Because unfortunately we don't have the staff to make everything look as good as it does. And it really requires volunteerism and this partnership that we have with you folks and people who aren't here now. To make sure we're able to do all this, especially the sport culture. So hopefully a lot of you be coming in the next few weeks. Additionally, at Tompkins Square Park this Sunday, we have the dog parade that's going to be going through there. So that'll be it. So it'll be very crowded. If you don't want that, it won't be a normal day at Tompkins. But if you want to see a bunch of dogs going through the parade, that will be going through Tompkins. We also made some special effort to make sure that the market that's at Tompkins, that a lot of people are relying on, will still be there. And it might be crowded, but they're still gonna have the normal spaces that they're usually have available for that. Some of the other things we're looking at moving forward is leaf season's coming up. So that's always kind of a big event for parks with just collecting leaves at minimum. We want to make sure that there's not hazardous conditions when people are walking through the parks. But it's also just something that, we care about, kind of divert stuff in the main waste stream. So every year we're looking to get more and more leaves out of the main garbage system and start to use the sanitation compost system for their biogas system to make sure that we're not sending things to the landfill as much as possible. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. There's other things that we have to do, like clearing flat roofs. There's a lot of special projects that come around these. So that's kind of the focus for the next month. Other positive news, we recently got 10 new full-time mid-shift staff. So historically, a lot of the Parks Department staff for maintenance and operations has been in the morning, right? 7 to 3:30 has been like our really big shift. That's helpful for cleaning up the mess, but we also want to make sure that we're able to hit any issues in real time, that we're able to keep bathrooms in an operational conditions when a lot of people don't get out of work until obviously after 3, after school is out. So we had some of these mid-shift in a temporary capacity before. Now we have an additional mid-shift that are dedicated full-time to Community Board 3. So they're fully on board now. And I think it's going to pay some dividends down here, especially when they really learn about the ins and outs of each one of these parks. And then I forgot to mention, I'll look into the historical page. I don't think there was any deliberate effort. I'll have to look at the link. I know you have my number, Tonto. If you do, just please text me the link. But maybe this was an oversight. Maybe there was some update that was disconnected. I don't think it was politically motivated. But I'll look into it. Okay. Thank you. And then finally, just East River Park, there was the big opening last, a few weeks ago. The big thing that we're focused on now that we had the big event, is just the day-to-day boring stuff and how we maintain and operate it. So some of the examples of things that we're working through, what are the exact rules for the amphitheater, right? Who gets to have an event there? What's the size? How does that work? We're coming up with that. Some of the more authority stuff, we have to clear out the irrigation lines in anticipation for the winter, so they don't freeze. We talked a lot about graffiti last month. We were actually able to paint over the graffiti along the water line, but it required like roping in. That's something we haven't done. The rocks now a lot lower than they were, right? So there's a lot of things that we're still working through. I tell you that because I know you guys like to dork out on some of the park's operation stuff, but also I ask that you bear with us a little. This park is a big thing, and handing it over, like it came with a manual, but there's still a million things that we're figuring out. and I'm confident that in 1 year, we're gonna have these things worked out, and it'll be a smoothly operated park. That's all I have. I'll open it up to questions. I'll add, just like all of these before meetings, I'll stay here till the end if there's like a more personal question, but I'm also happy to answer else there for everybody.
Okay, so who on the committee has questions? Okay, start down there. Val, can you go first?
Yeah, you said we have 10 new people mid-shift, I'm assuming this is like 4 to 12, something, or 11 to 7, and they're in this district. I don't know how many parks we have, but is that, how are they gonna be assigned? Are they gonna be assigned to different parks, or?
Yes, right.
And so they're gonna be assigned to a boss, and they're gonna be there for their entire shift, or they're gonna do half one place and half someplace else?
So, the hours of operation change based on where we are in the season. So generally speaking, it's gonna be earlier in the winter months when the sun sets earlier, and it's gonna go later into the summer. But generally, I think right now they're at 11 to 7:30. And then they're located primarily, but we will flex them if there's like a need, but at Tompkins, Sarah D, and then Pier 42 at East River Park. Because 10, it's great, but it's also, if you imagine, it's kind of 3 buckets of 3, someone might be out sick, something like that.
So there's somebody assigned to Pier 42 East River Park.
Yes,
Tyler?
Yeah, I just want to address the lighting, on again, off again, lighting issue at Columbus Park again. The southern section of the park is now powered again to, this is, I go for quite a long time. Con Edison cut the power there was no lighting, because still somebody complained about voltage. I saw Highland came and reconnected the interior park lights to another lamp post on Baxter Street. Well, only complained about the voltage lead. Con Edison came down and they cut the power again, but 2 weeks ago, there was a Con Ed crew out there, who restored commercial power to the lamp post on Mulberry Street by the entrance. So now we need the old heating out there and we're gonna be park lights. But if there's voltage leak, you need to or maybe to the island, which is the parks contractor. And Con Edison, because they need the section license and find out where the leak is coming from. You can't send one crew out there, they'll do their work, and then you find out there's a leak, they'll just cut it. Highland can't test interior wiring about a live wire. You can't section line for 5 feet, through the wires. So that has to be a coordinated thing that, we talked 3 weeks ago. And it's getting cold there, it's pretty dangerous down there. There is a population of unhoused individuals there. Some of them, kind of indulge in these stuff. Yeah. And one of them was 75 or 6 story. She opens the park fairly early. I see her every morning. It's not safe for her to be, sweeping.
So. Parks doesn't do it, they have to give it to DOT, and this is a real, and then DOT gives it to the contractors, and let me tell you, it's a mess, as you're aware.
Yeah.
So. If you would email to both of us, because we have the interagency meeting, what we do is we put it on a list. And we work together with DOT and saying, what about this, what about this, what about this? So we could do a much better job if you would, actually email both of us or put it on our list and then I do a check-in with DOT every week and then, so we'll keep up the pressure.
I'm constantly on the phone with Therese.
So she's not in any of our meetings, Carla, she's not in any of our meetings. She's not in any of our meetings, Teresa's not in any of our meetings. If you will email to Luke and me, we will work on it every week for you.
and I'll just, I'll make sure you get it,
I'll send it to him.
Thank you. Just, I think I've never said that's not my job, so she is correct, it is DOT's jurisdiction. But I think the most effective way for us to solve problems in the parks is to hit it from both sides. So I think hitting it through the community board side and the district manager, that's effective. And then I think when I double down on that, and it's like, they're hitting it from parks and the community, that's how we can be effective. I know that like Sarah D, we've had a ton of issues. I'm going there tonight to get a fresh issue. We're gonna revitalize that So I think we can include Columbus Park as concerned with the Sarah D issues. And please like include Teresa in the emails, include all of us. But just having it in writing kind of creates like, we have a constituent who lives in the community who's concerned. And that's where this whole thing started. It's not just that Luke and Susan were bored one night and we like to get lights on, it's that there's a safety concern that the community is raised.
And we have the police on our meetings too, and as you're talking about safety concern, and then they add their input too, because it is a safety issue.
Okay, thank you. Hang on. I think there are other people.
I would speak.
You want, you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, so you spoke about planting bulbs. Are you donating bulbs? Like, let's say the Triangle Park.
That's really, I'm very sorry if you, like, there was an opportunity to get 3 balls and we considered lunch from our nursery. In the Bronx, I think that's where they came from, but if you weren't aware of that protocol, I'll make sure that for the next planting we
I'm
get.
aware, I'm aware. Oh, you
Okay.
yeah.
So for it's the parks I mentioned, it goes for just they have friends of groups that reached out and made special coordinations to have this done. But it's kind of a partnership where the friends of group will request it. And then my team, as well as partnership for parks, will work on like the logistics of getting the bulbs to the actual park, getting tools there, etc.
Okay,
Yes.
so Zachary? you're
Yeah,
next.
really quick, silly question. What time is the dog, right?
I'll have to check my email to be exact.
And I think Trevor is.
All right. David, did you have a question or you're pointing at Trevor?
I have a question, but you have Trevor go first. If he's going to guess next.
Okay, go ahead,
Yeah,
Trevor.
thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Susan and Luke, I want to add this to your list, and I know this has been raised before, but not in the committee format about the lack of water at Pier 35, which was cut due to the construction of BMCR. We didn't know about it, but I don't know if it was anticipated or not. But I want to make sure it's raised at the community board level because there is no mitigation yet for this lack of water. So any of the plantings that we have done and the lawn have not survived. That's an area that gets direct sun with no water at all. And there is a very expensive, brand new, or not brand new, but relatively new irrigation system, which obviously cannot function. So I think there needs to be some coordination with EDC, DDC, parks, and the parks manager for that park, which I know is not under you, Luke, but since you're here, so that we can get this problem resolved and figure out some mitigation for this problem, because we keep losing the plantings that are there, and the lawn is basically doesn't survive at all. Just wanted to raise that issue and make sure that we can follow up on it. And I can email it to you, Susan, but I'm just finding out about this recently because it's going to require some mitigation.
I'll make sure to relay that, Trevor. I not acceptable, the lack of water, and I think something we should dig into is if we can prove that plants were damaged as a result of that, in my mind, that should be something that we work on replacing.
thank you. And then David?
Yeah, as I found this flyer on my doorstep that the Dutch are giving, I looked it up, 1 million daffodil bulbs to the city of New York. Be able to get any of them? I remember it's like 9/11, I just saw it today and I just remembered it, I just Googled it.
I think that's a giveaway you can square by the seats people walking by.
Okay, well,
That might be, I think they have like, is it Tulip Weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different programs in the city for getting bulbs. And I encourage you guys to take advantage of as many as possible. We at Parks do have one mechanism through our Partnerships for Parks organization, where like I can more speak to that and I can ensure like I'm the one who will be delivering, not me personally, but my team will be the one delivering those bulbs. But there's also a lot of other options, and more flowers is better, right?
All right, so before we let Luke go, does anybody, member of the public have questions? Bonnie?
Very simple.
Okay,
Can you just let us know if any needles are found in Pier 42 or East River Park? Because I just want us to get on top of it before we have the problems like some of these other parks.
I can just say, we have pretty good data on needles, because that's something we deliberately track. So I can more deliberately say this, like in maybe tomorrow when I get in front of my computer, but it's not, both Pier 42 and East River Park aren't, and the correlators are not ones that I usually see with you in a single needle. Like Sarah D is the town in highways.
But they got that, but so you haven't seen it, I'm just saying, if that happens, please let us know. Pier 42, East River Park, if you see any needles there, so that we can get on top of it as a community immediately.
I absolutely will, and it's VA Parks really care about tracking needles, because it helps, kind of crowd some of the other city agency resources regarding outreach. So we have a weekly report for every single park with how many needles were found, and every employee has an app on their phone that specifically tracks needles.
Just let us know those two.
Let's do it.
Thank you. So I saw Tommy, I think. And one more, okay.
Quickly, first of all, I want to thank he's followed up diligently on the PD issue. Most of it has been removed, that's the Parks Department responsibility. I think the contractor still has some work to do on what's their responsibility, but I want to thank that. I want to raise two issues, and I had a chance to talk to him, and he clarified some of it. The tennis courts, the new tennis courts, there are signs that still the Bryant Watkins Tennis Center, and it's supposed to be permitted. And when it was the old tennis court, there was a park attendant there, help both make sure people had permits, which is an income source for the Parks Department, which helps us get the help we need. And secondly, to make sure that people abide by the rules, which are basically an hour on the tennis courts, because they're even the professionals there were teaching and are monopolizing courts. So he did indicate that right now it is not permitted and they're working on it. And then when hopefully shortly, there will be, as we had, a park attendant. The other ongoing issue is we have a beautiful lawn at the foot of Grant Street, but we also have up to 10 dogs at a time off the leash and on the grass. And if you go look at the grass, it's spotted with urine spots now. It's being dug up by the dogs. And I live right above that park. Since the park has been open, I have not seen a park enforcement officer, a pet officer in that park at all. And what I would like to do, and I will follow up with Susan and Lou, is have them come to the next community board meeting and tell us what system they have. We have a huge new park open that's being unpatrolled. Besides the dogs, those of us who live by, there's been music at the amphitheater till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There's music at the barbecue area also till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There are fireworks going off at 1 and 2 o'clock. So we need to know how this beautiful park that we all want to enjoy is going to be made safe for everyone. And also it's going to be maintained, because that lawn is doomed the next few months. If 10 dogs at a time are running around them. And I haven't seen besides the lawn, everybody has their dog off the leash for that park. And it's really needs to be addressed. And by the way, I'm not even asking that people be fined, but I think the park enforcement people have to go in there and strictly tell people, at least for a week, that is not allowed. And then after that, they should be fined.
Shit, I don't think so.
So, hang on, let's give me the chance to respond.
Yeah, just to hit the tennis and then I'll talk to dogs. So you kind of captured what I said, when we spoke, but Parks, we wanted to ensure that everybody had an opportunity to play on the tennis courts. So we thought it wouldn't make sense to just permit it right off the bat. That way, anybody who's not familiar with the permitting system, et cetera, has an opportunity to do it without having to pay for the permit, without having to go through bureaucracy. That being said, I acknowledge that, there's some chaos at the courts. We've seen lines, we've seen things like that. There is also a balance with anybody associated with staffing with that, right? It wouldn't be one person, it'd be 3 to 4 people, you know, when you factor in days off, how many hours you want to cover. So there was kind of a determination, like, let's focus on taking care of the maintenance and cleanliness of that park versus putting somebody there for the immediate opening. We are gonna revisit it in the spring to see what exactly makes sense. The other piece to it is there's gonna be a tennis house that's constructed in the future. And that would make it a lot easier for the tennis attendant to work at it. And right now, there's like a small little container they have, which we use for storage, but it's not the most conducive to actually operating a tennis attendant station. For the dogs, what I can do is, the same thing with DOT. I think it really helps to have that email from the community saying like, hey, I have this issue with dogs specifically, any information you have. And then that helps, and then we can use that to route it to, you know, the Parks Enforcement Control, so they can see. It's not just me saying it when I give them calls, but it's also something that's from the bottom up and the ground up from the community.
There's signage there.
Well, the dogs are allowed, but they're not allowed off leash. There are signs, not just the consolidated rules, the big rule sign, but there's also kind of standalone signs that say the dog's off leash.
All right, thank you. So I think you have one more question
And
and
then I
then.
have another question now also, so the fields, with the money that the park is making, renting all these ball fields and the tennis courts and everything, does that go back into park maintenance? Where does that money go?
I'm not exactly sure, but I want to say it goes to kind of the parks general fund.
And also, they are coordinating that this local school kids and community members, they should get scheduled certain times with the school going, the local schools use all those fields and everything. Has that been coordinated?
Yeah, so there was a big kind of change in how we do things with our permitting system. Without going into the full details, generally speaking, we now prioritize youth and nonprofit and also nonprofit over like adult for-profit leagues. There could still be, the ball could be dropped sometimes, right? So I always encourage people to like, let me know if there's a problem. There's also one of the things I've kind of detected is those mechanisms by which we prioritize youth nonprofit. Is we don't charge compared to we will charge for profit. And then there's a window where you can sign up that's earlier, right? But if we do permit it, right, like let's say nobody signed up as a youth nonprofit or a nonprofit earlier, and then a for-profit company, they had their, you know, there was a window where they had dedicated time to sign up. If a for-profit company then signs up after, when we gave an opportunity, I have had issues where a youth nonprofit will feel that they should have that time, but they might not have signed up with that dedicated window where they had like it's guaranteed for them. But I believe, like, if there's any issues, please let me know, but I believe we are prioritizing.
But I have more specific questions about Sarah Roosevelt. You know, in the park offices and the field, the track is behind the office building. And I spoke to Teresa last year because there was all kinds of asparagus coming and some really good, it wasn't that weedy, but it was overgrown. And they cleared everything, like all from the roots, like shrubs, perennials, the butterfly weed that was coming in. And
Can you guys hear?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, we recently weed whacked instead of pulling this year.
It looked like totally nothing.
Yeah, so there was a lot of needles and people's like items and people sleeping in the bushes, and so we cleared out some area to reseed it with other pollinator species. And then we bought plants that we're going to put in. So we just plan on putting in some new ones that are less tall and in a way that it's not going to hide people's belongings and people, you know, using the bathroom in there because it was well overgrown and very thick. So it should look better soon.
Great, thank you so much.
That's what it's coming up this weekend and next weekend.
All right. That's backing up into the park and nobody's
Okay,
behind.
at this point, I think
That's all, it's just,
Have we, that, I mean, that's what we're gonna do. So I think if you wanna follow up in more detail, as Luke said, he always stays and is happy to go and have side conversations about very specific issues, so, yeah, you can find out more. If that is all the questions for Luke, then thank you. I'm sure people will come and grab you, and we will go on to the next, item on the agenda, which is DDC is going to give us an update on the compost area that will be going into East River Park.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do that there? Yeah, because we have the camera, it will be there now. You don't have anything to,
It's me.
Ethan's driving.
okay,
If you could just make me a presenter.
okay, and so what do you know? Okay, are you on as an attendee?
Yes.
You can show something there and you were standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over there.
Yes, we will be able to see you on Saturday if you come out.
We might change the camera, it's facing there. No?
It's facing, it's facing.
So if there's something up there, it'll be closer.
There.
Yeah.
Big to the camera.
Then.
No,
Yeah.
You don't tell me where they are. That's great. We can have this. In the middle of the camera.
Sorry.
The wall of that. All right.
I'll get you.
So maybe you could stand.
Yeah.
If you stand, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect.
If they stand over there, can you make a bigger zoom in so they can be bigger?
That's not the problem.
Everyone wants to face like the same.
Yeah.
We want to see the
Stand in front of the camera.
That's pretty good.
I can't share.
You guys and the people at home.
Yeah, but that's.
Yeah, we're not there. You can take them off.
And right here.
No. Hang on a second, everybody. You guys need to stand there. It's not a presentation it's a presentation actually for us and the people at home, so we could look at their faces, that would be really great. Thank you, that's a really nice. It's very good. All right, so we need just 1 second here. So everybody, we are ready to go. We're going to turn the site to our presenter. Thank you. Tell us about the compost yard.
Alright, so.
Organization, I don't even moving around, so imagine them could be getting the front, so all of us to see them. Yeah, you see that, but you get tired?
Can we please let?
Can we people? About the meeting? Thank you, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you for having us today. We are here, from Marvel, which, we are working with, BDC and, New York City Parks and, local consultants on the, Lower East Side Ecology Center, and we're here to present to you guys today where we are with the project. And I'm gonna pass it on to Debbie, who, is also with Marvel. Maybe you wanna introduce yourself, but she's gonna start with the presentation and then we'll go a little bit back and forth.
Everyone knows Gabrielle already.
Yeah, Debbie.
So I'm Debbie, I'm an associate at Marvel, I'm an architect, and let's get into this. Next slide. So The compost, the Lower East Side Ecology Center and Compost Yard is really this last node between Pier 42 and the rest of East River. So you can see here, the site as it was a while ago, kind of is right near the ferry, and it's right really between the lawn at Pier 42 and between the amphitheater. Here you can see a lot of the programming that's already started to happen with the Esplanade being very close by, the shared use path and the bridge that goes across the street, the amphitheater, and then the fields, and then that circular round dash is a 5-minute walk. So it's really within a 5-minute walk of everything around there. This is the site, the more recent photo of what's been going on, so you can see that there's some green happening. I know there's more planting coming in the future. And then here you can see another bird's eye view, like looking towards the river. You can see kind of the lines of the amphitheater walls kind of curving towards us. And then, which we'll talk a little bit more about at the. So
Keep going.
as we started working on this, we visited a lot of compost yards, and I know that probably, I know Christine knows all about this, but we've all probably done the part where we collect our compost and then deliver it, and so then what happens is it's decontaminated so that all of the bacteria is taken away, and then there's a curing process where the compost is exposed to the air, and there's a filtration that happens underneath slab, and then it goes to a different thing that has a roof on it, and then it's brought to a tunnel where it's turned, and then it's ready to be used in a garden condition. So we thought about that. We also thought about all of these ideals, which were very important to us, which is this like strong connection between the community and the park, making sure that everyone is welcome to it, making sure that there's this like indoor-outdoor connection with the building and the yard and the site. Also, there's a really important educational component with the Lower East Side Ecology Center's programming that we want to make sure that that is very clear. And then we wanted this building and site to be very durable, long lasting, and stand the test of time. So here you can see a diagram of our site. We have this yard, and then we have this educational node that's kind of in the middle that you're able to access through. And then we want to link both of the parks, like Pier 42 and the amphitheater area, with a new path between them. So this is a little drawing of what the structures kind of will look like, where there's some walls and fences around it, and then this building that allows you a portal to kind of come in through and also see into like what is going on with the post. Here you can see on the left the idea of access and programming that we have. So like where the fences are, all of the gray is where the composting operations happen, and then the blue is more where all of the education happens. And so on the right side, you'll see where we have all of the different parts of the composting process, which end in a demonstration garden, which is kind of like the culmination, right? Like using the compost in the garden. So with the circulation and education, we wanted to create 2 outdoor classrooms that flank the building, which you see with the blue, and then also have paths that Lessa can, bring people on guided tours at times that are appropriate throughout the site. And then there's a new building where it says public staff, and that's really where the offices for Lower East Side Ecology Center will be. And then the landscape approach is also really about being an extension of both of the parks, like creating the same layers of the edges and like the groves and the pollinator areas, so that this is kind of a continuation of all of this work that's been done so far. And the building is also meant to be of the park, so all of the materials that we're using and all of the kind of thinking about this building, really, we want it to feel sited and not foreign. So we're considering using like a lot of this cast in place concrete that you'll see around graffiti with graffiti coating, so it's easy to clean. And there's also a new painted metal band shell on the amphitheater with this like thin roof, which we're using on our roof as well. And then we also are thinking about color a little bit. It's part of the building. And then this drawing is kind of it's very architect-y, but it's meant to show you how we're thinking of these layers of the materials coming into the site. So the walls kind of wrap and come in out of datum, and then the fencing sits on the walls. The site structures, the compost structures are all concrete, and they sit on these walls too. And then the building is also concrete, and it sits on this wall. And then we're trying not to use a lot of materials so that it feels all very cohesive. All of the fencing is meant to be the same and with all these gates. And then there's also some of this grading along the upper windows. And then you'll see in some of the later images, we have this kind of like thin white metal roof that extends. And then underneath it, it's blue to kind of make you feel like you're at certain times of day, like it's kind of a nod to the sky. So maybe it'll be the same color as the sky sometimes. So I'll pass it off to you, Dale, to talk more about the landscape.
Yeah. So this is a good point of an extension of the building and the materiality of this project, right? Is taking cues from the existing parks, both in the building and in the landscape. And if you can go to the next page, we can show you a little bit better of that sort of integration and how like people can access all the way around. You see that Debbie mentioned the idea of connecting the Pier 42 park side and the circulation there with the Lower East Side Ecology Center, and then the rest of the East Side Coastal Resiliency Park. So we have this circulation that happens in the middle. Taking advantage of that outdoor classroom, which you see here in white, that is a roofed open space, right? So, and that's also the entrance, the entrance for staff and the entrance for public. And then right outside of that, you have this sort of a gathering space in front of it, which again takes cues from the materials and the articulation that the rest of the park has, with a series of boulder edges and picnic tables and umbrellas for provide shade and provide space for people to gather there. On top of the office space, you see there's also a green roof in that area, and we're also providing a lot of trees that are again an extension of the typology of trees that are happening in the rest of the park, and that we want to make sure that we provide for shade in the future. So we're doing both the umbrellas, but also the canopy trees, so that in time you will also develop a good canopy and shade area there. The other area that I want to point out, besides the pads and the bays that are for the compost process and facility to happen, which Debbie explained how that more or less works, is the demonstration garden on the right side. You see the colors, so these are going to be planter beds for Lower East Side Ecology Center to actually plant natives or pollinators or edible plants that grow edible stuff, and also have a smaller educational garden zone right next to it that will work in support of that garden and of the operations of the Lower East Side Ecology Center. Next. Oh. On the team sheet. There you go. All right, so this is a render view of what the space looks like. So you're looking at it from that center space, the outdoor classroom space, which is also the main entrance to the site. So these are a series of gates that could be controlled in different ways, but there's a primary access point, which is the one that's open there on the left. That's where you can come in and out. There's fence that are gates on the other parts that protect the outdoor classroom space when LESEC has a programming there, but it also offers opportunity for it to open in other events. And then you see that open space at the front, right, with the articulation of the boulder stones and picnic table and umbrella, and it creates a space of gathering that connects it to the rest of the park. Next slide. the materiality that we're using is an extension of the rest of the park, so you're probably very familiar with all of this, you know, the 1964 bench, the boulder edges, the umbrellas, the type of lighting that we're using. Next. The vegetation that we're gonna use is also conceptually an extension of what's happening in the rest of the park. We are identifying zones specifically, you know, outside of the building, so like a pollinator, native pollinator area, right? The building that could also help support the garden inside and it kind of plays a role in this sort of this educational component that Desert will have here. This a lot of this vegetation, some plants are plants that you see in other parts of the park already. There's a lower point that has vegetation that's more related to areas that may be a little bit more wet. There is this sort of upland meadow palette. We're creating these berms out around the outside of the building, very in line with how the topography is being manipulated in the rest of the park, but also to help screen some of the activity that's happening inside the yard from, you know, the park activity, right? So you get glimpses of it in some areas, but you're also screening the activity with these berms. And then some like more evergreen and denser plants immediately around the fences, so that I'll actually also kind of screen the fences from so the visibility of, you know, the seeing the fence. And yeah, so in this one, this is a roof plan. That's the area in green is the area that's going to be a green roof. And I'm going to pass the next slide to Debbie so that you continue explaining taking us through the building.
Sounds good. So this is the detail of the first floor plan. You come through the entry here, and this is the gate that Danielle was talking about. Sometimes it's all open, usually not. Maybe for like a community day. Most of the time it's closed so that you could have different classroom configurations here next to this kitchen. So you could come in here, you can walk down this path and get to this other outdoor classroom. So this one is covered, this one is not covered, and this one is close to the garden. Also along this path, you get the entry to Lessig's offices. There's a bathroom that has an outdoor that's available to the exterior, and then there's kind of just programming on the inside. But this is really meant to show you also this idea of the educational tenant that we're talking about. So, you know, you can see all the compost happening, all the compost happens on site, then it can be used in this garden. We're collecting rainwater in the cistern, so you could also use the rainwater that's collected from the roof to irrigate the garden. Then you could have children pick the plants and use this kind of food prep area to, you know, learn how to use vegetables, what vegetables are, and then bring them over to the kitchen. And then, for example, do some sort of demonstration in the kitchen that's like activated with the community there. So I think there's a lot of opportunities depending on what the programming is for these different components based on what the site is doing. And then now we're just gonna look at pictures. So this is a version of the original air-filled booth we saw. So with kind of, you know, it's not exactly all planting, right? But it's an idea of where you'll see the composting structure. So, you know, these are the bays where they're carrying. This one is the one that has to have a roof.
That's a compost bed.
Yeah, so this is compost. This is compost, and then there's spots for different, right?
And I mean, that white and green.
Okay, hang on, let her finish and then we'll ask
And this is the
questions.
building that we were talking about too. What?
No, just.
No, go ahead. I'll just ask you to start once you get in, when we finish.
And then this is an image of kind of where the ferry comes, so you can see this portal going into the site and with the outdoor classroom roof. And the blue kind of referencing the sky above. And this is a view from the Esplanade, so you can see kind of the same roof structure with the green roof, and there's some windows in there. Next slide. Here you can see kind of the idea of the fencing materials being the same with the roof gradings and the white of the roof that we're talking about with the amphitheater. This is that same view that Dale was talking about, where we're in the gathering space in the front, looking into the yard and into like where you see a compost phase. And then this is the view from inside, like if there's volunteer day or something, there would be people around and you can have a classroom program in there. And then this is a view, you know, being in the classroom, looking out towards the river. So with all the gates open, so sometimes it can really feel like you are inside and outside and, you know, covered, you know, that shade is important too. So this like provides shade in a very permanent way and allows, you know, this connection we hope with the community. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So as before, we will take questions from the committee first. I know Val has a lot of questions.
No, I have a lot.
Who else is on that? Val, the committee has questions? Okay, so I'm gonna start, Val, I'm gonna start down here since you went first last time. And you know, if we can, let's keep it to about 2 minutes because we still have other agenda items tonight. We want to make sure that we give everyone a chance to speak. So Dan, you go first.
Okay, I have a lot, I think it's beautiful and I would like to work there, but I have a couple questions. Big questions are, where is the wall in relation to all this? Cause looking from the water views that you showed, there is elevation for this site. And like the timeline for that, how like, when you put that elevation in, which is not currently there because this part was left out of the original build out. Like, what's the timeline? Because do you have to put in all that fill and then wait to build the building? I'm just gonna go through all my questions. Will the city council money that's been allocated cover this, or is it also part of still the overall plan? And then smaller questions, I didn't get a sense of the size of the space, like for bringing trucks in and into the middle part, and then the fence for the outdoor classroom and the entryway from the water side, like where people would be entering. I'm skeptical of the security of that. I mean, I think it looks really nice, but when nobody is around and it's closed, I'm a little skeptical.
Hi, sorry, I'm Melissa Haldeman with NYC Parks. I'll just join the so we're all on the same spot. I think I can answer your question about the wall.
Okay.
So it's right around where the compost yard is, where the wall becomes buried.
Okay.
So it's above grade and running along the shared use path all along Pier 42. And then it's right there that it comes and goes below grade. So the site is actually kind of like it starts at like elevation 8 and it goes up to elevation
18, well,
18.5.
but the building is 16.5, but then on the pathway is around 18, yeah.
Yeah, so on your coordination question, because it's being coordinated with the East Side Coast Resiliency construction, they will do the substance work before the building and then your question about the funding, well,
Yeah, just like, does this fit with the funding that's currently allocated?
yes, so additional funding was identified for like the building itself. And their funding has been pulled together basically for this site, like within. What's being shown is the fully funded project, like within the larger piece.
Okay. And then quickly, the size of the area, like.
Yeah, so between the buildings on the inside, it's about 30 feet, and there's not meant to be bigger than like trucks, like smaller trucks in there and like skid. So we looked at that and there's no space to move around, so
Yeah, and the question about there's the fence, I mean, this is gonna be the standard University Parks like height fence, like 8 feet fence. 8 feet high fence, so, you know, the space is actually like kind of tall, like, so it may feel like it's more open, but really it's 8 feet high, which is a standard, fence that parks uses in many of the.
It has like the small thing, so it's not.
Yeah.
Full or.
Yes, also those, yeah.
That one, yeah.
It's mostly vertical, it has some verticals in the back, or it's not, it's very,
It's like
very thin.
small, yeah, like your fingers.
Yeah.
You're like fine that.
Yeah. Or just use this one, but,
Thank you. So what is next down here?
Just curious, how much flood damage are you willing to accept from this, since it's built into place? These are sort of flooding.
Well, it's actually built, I don't know if the views look correct with the scale, but it's built at the like 100-year flood elevation, like the max flood elevation that we are designing to around the city, so it's really, you know, going up quite a bit, even though there's no wall in there. What Melissa was saying, the wall is kind of buried in here, so it's not meant to flood.
The building is, the elevation of the building meets the design flood guidelines, and so the site. The areas of the site that need to not flood match the design flood elevation.
Yeah, thanks for.
We looked at that. Well, it's a question because the air, that very immediate area could potentially flood, right? Yes.
In consideration, what happened, you say, okay?
Okay, Secretary, did you have a question or, oh, okay, so Brian, you're next. Yeah, just a couple questions. So,
Mutual question.
this process has worked closely with the LES Ecology Center and that's been a good process. Yes, it's been an excellent process. Excellent. And I just wanted to ask about, cold weather. So you have a lot of, program space and educational space that's outdoors. Do you have capacity to be able to move that indoors during cold weather?
I mean, the building itself is only about 1,400 square feet, and I know that Christine has a lot of people that she wants to put in there, so I'm not sure how many educational programs can happen.
So that'll be more seasonal, the educational programs will. That's what.
I'll defer to Christine, but I would think so. I don't think that there's like space for it.
Well, yeah. All right, Daisy and then Val.
When you, what's the time frame for this to be completed? More or less, I have two questions. And when you say classrooms, who exactly will be utilizing these classrooms and specifically for what?
The age group she asked you.
So for the timeline, Ethan, I don't know, I might have to like ask you or Kristen maybe to speak to that.
Oh, yeah, I think that the goal is to track it along with ESCR, which is anticipated end of 2026.
26?
Yeah.
Okay, my second question.
Classrooms.
My second question was, when you say classrooms, who exactly will be utilizing these classrooms? And specifically for what? What I'm trying to say is, is it a community involvement? I want to know who's using the
So we Ryan's question Ryan's question before was I was coordinating it closely with the Lower East Side Ecology Center, so we're designing some of the spaces with conjunction with the Lower East Side Ecology Center, and they're gonna be the users of this.
Okay, so who will be using the classrooms, Christine, and for what?
Yeah, so we're very excited about our outdoor classroom. And we have a food justice program, and we're going to, and Henry Street currently has hosted us since we started this program. And so we invite school groups from the neighborhood to come.
Wonderful.
And we definitely.
Say I'm not a watching. I'm like, she's trying to get your work, just in case I'm not, I'm not gonna take people from community over there.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't hear her, she's talking to me.
He wants you to speak louder.
Oh, no, I don't mean you to disrespect me, no, you are, said that you're talking now, I can't hear you, I have a number.
Right, okay, let me
Sorry about
Let me stand this way, and then hopefully everybody can hear. So we definitely hope to invite more people to come and experience the classroom. We also, the building, we're working, we actually got, another grant to think about the inside of the building and how to rebuild it out to not only allow for our staff to be there, but to also have it flexible so that, sometimes people could come in the evening and it could be a meeting space or it could be used for workshops or for things like that. So we're really trying to be creative. It is not a lot of space inside that building, but we're trying to share it as much as possible with the community. And want to really see it used as a community resource because that's after all what our programs are all about. And so the outdoor space obviously is very much going to be a seasonal thing. But hopefully the indoor space will also provide some interactions during older months. And I also want to just really say that the operational side, it's oftentimes just termed as composting, but we do more in East River Park than composting. We also do a lot of maintenance there. We were the stewards of the park before it disappeared, and we are the stewards of the park still. So, you know, there's a lot of weeding that we're currently already doing, and we're getting a lot of data of how many weeds there are to really understand what's coming at us in terms of composting all of that. Stewardship also requires that you have wood chips at hand. So one of these covered bays, for example, will be just to store wood chips. So when we do weeding, we have wood chips at hand that we can bring out and meet and cover the ground that we have now cleared of the weeds. So you should see this site more as really we need to come up with a new name and hopefully everybody will help us because it's the compost yard, but I think it's the compost yard 2.0 and we need to find another name for it. And yeah, that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, Val.
Okay, can you go to a picture where you show like maybe,
Thank you.
what do you call this, the amphitheater, oh, like, okay, so where exactly is the ecology center?
So all of this is the whole site.
Oh, okay. So that's the site that right now is like all those trucks and whatnot in there.
All the random trucks.
Oh, okay, so this is not done yet.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, that's, I couldn't understand with.
No, we're here because we are engaged with PDC and it's important for all of you to, give
So what-
comments. And so we are getting ready to submit this to the PDC for preliminary. So, and then there's like a final presentation later.
Okay, so you're getting ready to submit this?
That's
So
right.
This hasn't been submitted yet? Okay.
We were approved for conceptual design with PDC,
Okay.
and then we're planning to submit this
Okay.
for the next round.
So right below this is Pier 42 Park?
Yeah.
This is
correct.
the
Okay, because everybody likes, I have to say, everybody likes the design so far, like going across to where the amphitheater is, people like that. The section over there, Pier 42, people all talk about liking that, so I just was like, where are we talking about?
It's like that pile of dirt with trucks.
No, I get it, I'm looking at the picture.
You may know this look to real.
Yeah.
No, and we're talking the ecology center, so I'm assuming that you're going to continue the program that you've been doing, because I've been to several programs that were done with the ecology center and other people, and they were open to the community down here. So I would just, people don't know, I would just assume that probably what you need to do is maybe some more outreach. Because otherwise, you've been doing programs in terms of ecology and being a good center. So that was really my question. Now, I was like, you showing like 50,000 slides and not this is, and I was doing some other things where people sat through slides and didn't realize that, oh no, you're looking at this and certain things were missing. So anyway, that looks good. And you're saying there's gonna be some kind of shade, because that's the one thing people have complained about with Pier 22 is the shade. People have like, I heard you say that there's gonna be tables and
Yeah, umbrellas.
umbrellas. People have loved those down there near that other building that's down there that I don't know what they're doing with. But people have liked the tables and the umbrellas. And so that sounds like, that sounds pretty good in terms of what's right there. And so you have to turn it in, what's the timeline? You're turning this in where and how long does that take?
I mean, we turn it into PDC very like this week, and then we have a meeting with them in like a month, and then they give us comments, and if you have comments, then we can always talk about those comments.
Well, you turning it into parts? Or EDC or EDC who?
The Public Design Commission.
Well, no, I think maybe we're talking about the larger, when the project's gonna be.
But you'll be coming back.
Oh, we'll be coming back.
They'll be coming back.
But no, where they going? You know, when I put this on, you go back.
Commission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
DDC. Public Design Commission, okay.
This is our, yeah, there's a lot of different agencies.
Trevor has.
Yes, I'm just gonna say, before we take questions from the public, Trevor has a question.
Well, a couple of things. I just heard that this will go to PDC, so I imagine this is coming back to the committee for a resolution.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I missed it. The picture in my screen is a little small, but is there an opportunity to have some solar power here? I imagine all the power for this, for the building and surrounding area is hardwired in, but I'm wondering, looking at the roof, and I know this would change the design a bit, whether there was an opportunity to put solar lighting. I know that the efficiency has increased a bit to make it more feasible, but would it make sense to put it here?
If you didn't hear the question, it was about solar. Is there any solar power in here?
There's not currently any PV panels. I think that's something we have to go back and look at parks and DDC.
I don't know if you heard me, but I think there's an opportunity, considering the roof space and the size, to add solar to take care of the power for that building, especially considering that this is the ecology center and solar power has become a lot more efficient.
So I can take that back at parks. I mean, my initial response is just that I know that the designers had to pull back the size of the green roofs a little bit. Because, you know, the roof that extends over the other classroom does get thinner, and so it's not gonna support as much. So I'm not gonna give you guys on the spot to answer that now, and also solar panels were not part of the scope of the project. But we can certainly, parks will take that back and look at it. And then.
Okay, we have one more, Trevor, did you have one more question? Or did you get?
No, that was it. That was it. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to questions from the public. Tommy and Keith group here, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let Wendy go ahead online and ask her question. And then.
Hi, hello, everybody. I have a little cold. I was gonna ask about the solar too. Even if it's the kind that's in other parts of the park on the post rather than rooftop solar. I think especially it's so sunny here. There's thinking about the plantings, attenuating the noise from the drive would be so good here and helpful for an outdoor classroom. It's quite noisy until these trees grow in. And I know you have a hillside there that will help, but I also wanted to say one of the things I loved about the Lower East Side Ecology Centers at the Fireboat House was they kept a list of species. And I would love to see that list of species sited in the park or in the river be on the exterior so people could see it even when the Ecology Center is closed. And you said the word concrete several times, and that is, to me, one of the sad, realities of our park. It's so hot. Is there any kind of eco-concrete, permeable, or engineered to be lower carbon? Oh, I'm sorry, that was out of order, but I was going to also say on the exterior of the building, maybe it'd be a good place to have some info for people on what's underneath the park. And because there's nowhere right now where there's how you can understand the layers, and it can be one image. And lastly, I was going to say that there should be good signage identifying this as Lower East Side Ecology Center, and maybe have a event board so upcoming classes and things can be promoted to people coming into the park. Thank you. So I guess my real question is the concrete.
There is lower embodied concrete mixes, so that's something that we usually do with our specifications with the structural engineer. And it is like you mix things that are not just cement in with the concrete to make it a lower embodied carbon. So that's something that I think we haven't gotten into yet, but definitely is on our list to get into. And I appreciate your thoughts about all the signage. That's something we also haven't gotten into yet. And I think there's a lot of ways that could be really great.
Are you going to be presenting to the CAG? Because that's another group that could really help on things like ideas like that.
It's the ESCR Community Advisory Group. I mean, I think, I don't know, I guess we have to go back and see.
Yeah, because you're putting this in this week, and the next CAG meeting isn't for, it's not this week, right? It's a couple weeks off. Anyhow, thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing this a reality.
Sorry, Wendy, didn't mean to cut you off. So just to clarify what you were discussing with Wendy, there are some things that you're still working out, and we would expect to hear about those when you come back to us. Okay.
And that's when the resolution would happen.
Yeah.
We are submitting to EDC preliminary. They usually like to know that we have come to the community board and engage with you guys. So I think some kind of like, in previous projects, we have had like a letter of acknowledgement or something that's.
Yes, we already spoke about.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
it's asking, so that's will be not a resolution at this point, I guess, or formal resolution, but something that acknowledges that we can do.
Yes, I will say, in 21 years I've been in this job, we've never done that before.
Okay.
I mean, it's an easy thing to do as long as I draft it, but the design commission has never requested anything except a resolution on the final design.
So it sounds like there are still some design details and things like that you're working on that we would hear more about when you come back to us next time. And oh, thank you. Because I think we'll keep a list of that and follow up with you about those. Okay, so I think we have a few more questions here in the audience. Let's see, let Danny go first. You haven't
I
spoken
just have a
yet.
quick question. So is there to be any composting done at all?
Mhm.
There would be, okay.
Yeah.
And where is that gonna take place? Just around?
It's dirt, yeah, it's the dirt.
That's where the.
Yeah, on the right hand side, yeah.
Okay, all right, I just wanna make sure because I know that the park uses a lot of compost that is there, so I just wanna make sure that continues. Okay.
Okay, Tommy?
I just want to get up to that way into the diagram, and I want to emphasize what Wendy just said, concrete. What any other materials considered, given that, why is this concrete area so wide? The park this summer was at 180 degrees, and all this does is it's make it, why is all this concrete here?
It's really for the trucks that need to come in.
It has to be that wide.
Vehicles, yeah.
Yeah, that's the portion that we were saying before, that it was about 30 feet wide, and that's for the maneuvering of the vehicles of the compost system. So you see this, that part of the yard is the fenced off yard.
I see the amount of concrete though here in this area. And it's huge, and it makes the park unusable in the summer. NRBC was out there this summer and it was 180 degrees.
I mean, is it wide there so they turn around? Hang on, let's do one question. So let's give them a chance to respond to his comment.
I mean, I'll say that we were asked to increase the size of it for the vehicles, and we have been keeping it as small as we can. To allow like the actual operations of the composting to work. So unfortunately, trucks like ruin a lot of
Yeah.
floor surfaces, I don't know what.
But I also wanna say that, I mean, so the project that, the size of the project that we studied is at 1 acre site. The part that's in concrete and enclosed is a smaller portion of that. We are greening up everything around it, right? So the areas, and again, this image doesn't show the extent of the vegetation, it's gonna look slightly different. But this whole area vegetated, the gardens that we're creating here, all of that is, part of this acre that we're talking about with Lower East Side, and it's gonna be lush and green with trees, vegetation. But the operations have to work, and in the material research that we did with the Lower East Side College Center and with other compost yards, there are certain materials that will last or work better for the operations, and that's where we got it.
My comment was the same as everybody's, it's just so hot and so exposed, there's no sort of passive solar, but I mean, are there gonna be trees behind the building? Or,
On that side,
yeah, like why aren't there trees making shade for the like passive solar situation, and maybe there's a way the trucks could, it could be a circle so they can turn around and not have to do the back up and K out, and so there'd be trees in the middle and they drive circulation around it. I think there's better ways to do the layout, that it doesn't have to be endless concrete, and there's the concrete permeable pavers or gravel traps or something, like why isn't there any permeable stuff going on, solar passive, and you could have vines on the building, it could be so much greener, it's very exposed and hot and it really,
we're maximizing the amount of the area where we can actually put trees within this, and that has been something that we've been increasing. The areas that you see some areas that you see without trees, we also have to be mindful there's some zones where the wall is, or the front wall is, or where some utilities are that we cannot plant, so that's we're keeping up of that. But we're maximizing, we're gonna maximize the.
you're saying like behind the building, can you build the soil up or have?
It will be planted, for sure. So there's an area here that we cannot plant trees, but you plant other things, right?
Well, I mean, can you berm up against the building and have much deeper soil and then have some trees, I mean, there's ways to get it in there, and even like large planters with no bottoms, that. I've been trying to think about how to recycle the boats, I'm working on a marina, recycle, fiberglass. There happens to be a lot of boats that are hulls that would make great giant planters for trees, and I'd love to talk to you about that, but I mean, I think there has to be a little bit more creativity instead of looking at the restrictions, looking at more opportunities for more green and greening the buildings, and maybe there's a way to get the trucks to turn around with a loop. And there's little umbrellas in the middle of hot concrete reflecting back in your face. It's gonna be great.
Okay, is there anybody else online who has a question? Because we should wrap up this conversation. Thanks everybody for the feedback. It's really exciting to see this happening. And if not, then we will go on. Josie, did you have one last question?
No, I just wanted to, like I said, the compost is a very small area. I mean, it's supposed to serve the community, right, the compost? Yeah, and it's so small, I mean, the truck area, the delivery area is so big and that area is so small. So.
It was being
Doesn't make sense.
No, we've been designing to the specifications that we've been told to, so obviously we're here to do.
Exactly, it's open up that space and also.
Okay, hang on, let us finish, and then we're gonna wrap this conversation up and go on to the next item.
Conversations between Lower East Side Ecology Center, parks and EDC, right? So that's where we're getting the directions, right? But just to clarify here, there's compost in this side, there's also compost in this side here. So it's not this, so I mean, it's all part of the process, right? There's different stages of it. So this is all part of that process, that is all part of that process.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. We're happy to see this happening, and
Thank you.
I would just ask quickly, when do you expect to be coming back to this committee? So. Do you have a good sense of that yet?
Might be wrong. I think there's. I'll defer to Melissa.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
All right. So our next, thank you. Our next agenda item is, actually, can I ask you a question?
Would the committee normally give a resolution now, or would it be done with the full board meeting that month?
What?
If there was to be a resolution?
We were told there wasn't a resolution.
But we need a little bit of clarification, I think. Would it be more appropriate to do it now or with the full CB3 later this?
Never, always at committee.
Okay.
Resolution for what?
Does it normally comes before we go to PDC, correct?
For the final design, but what you asked me for earlier was just a letter of acknowledgement that you presented. That the board doesn't have to vote on a letter of acknowledgement you present.
So then. Yeah, sorry, I think with Parks and DDC are figuring out, because I think it was DDC that put it through, so I guess then
We
we'll
don't
have to
generally
know about
vote on consumption, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
But what you have is, like I said, email me a letter, and we'll sign that you came and present. Okay, so Ethan, you have the next presentation.
I do, yes.
Okay, great. All right, so next presentation is on the East River Greenway project to replace or bypass the pinch point at Con Ed. And this is another thing we've been waiting very eagerly to hear, so thank you. And go ahead and share it with us.
Good evening all, thanks for taking the time to allow me to present on this exciting project. I want to start off to reiterate the point that you just made. Sorry that it's taking so long, I want to start off with that. We understand that there's been like that concept of the flyover bridge that was presented many years ago. There's a lot of reasons why that project couldn't proceed as it was developed. And so we're very excited about this new greenway that we're in plans with right now. And so what we wanted to do is provide you with an update this evening, just to remind you that this is an upcoming project. Again, we're excited by it, but we don't want you to think that we were forgetting about this approach that we have. So if you go up to the next slide, before I get into some of the proof of concept requirements that we're dealing with, I wanted to talk about our procurement process. It is a design build project, which is sort of new for the city that we're working through at DDC, which is something that we're actually very excited about because it's different than what we're all typically used to with design bid build, where you have when we onboard an architect or an engineering firm, they design the entire project from schematic design all the way to final design. Then that design goes out to bid to a contractor. Sometimes you have a bid bust, sometimes you have to go request more money, there's a whole delay with that, and then you go into construction. With design build, it's a little more intimate procurement selection process. Where initially we release a request for qualifications to the industry. So that we can try and select the best 3 teams that we think would be a good fit for our project. That is followed by the request for proposal process, where we engage in confidential dialogue with these 3 selected teams. And these teams meaning the design team and the contractor together in one, right? And so with this RFP process, what we do is we identify very specific requirements that we expect from this project. We have a proof of concept that we have run with to analyze and make sure that we can build to this budget. But then we aren't as prescriptive as you are in design bid build, where you bid out the full design. What we do is we expect these experts from our design build process to come up with a concept for us during this confidential period, so that we can make that selection based on what they're presenting to us. And so that is followed by, in this case for our project, since it's a guaranteed maximum price project, we identify a specific target price in order to complete the project. And then it's followed by a phase 1, which essentially is a design component up to, we're calling it 60% pre-final submission, or ultimately like design development submission. During that time frame, the design build team is validating the site conditions to make sure that there are no surprises when they're out in the field, since they're all working as one team. And then at the end of the phase one process, we finalize the actual contract or the binding proposal with the selected design builder. Followed by that is the phase two process, which pretty much wraps up the final stages of design, while the team is looking to onboard any early works that you can fast track. Like the early stages of construction that you just want to get out of the way, that's not mainly like the finishes. Followed by the rest of the construction, followed by closeout. And what this helps us do is select the best team for the project, based on those confidential meetings that we're working with. You eliminate the procurement period that happens between design and construction. To prevent any shortfalls, because you have one team that is working together to figure out what the best approach is and the best budget. And then you get to fast track your construction, so you're not waiting for your regulatory approvals, you're not waiting for pulling permits, you're not waiting for the teams to mobilize, you're just jumping right into construction. And that's working simultaneously with design as shown on this graph. So we go on to the next page. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of where we are. Again, we're no longer proceeding with the flyover bridge. We're moving forward with this. We're calling it the East Side Greenway 14th Street Connector. It will be an in-water structure that ties in on the north side, Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk, down to the south side at East River Park, on the northern part of East River Park. And so we released the RFQ for this brand new in-water structure project. March of 2025, out to the industry. The evaluators made their selection of the 3 shortlisted proposers that we're currently in, again, that confidential period with. We announced them in July. We released our RFP to those 3 shortlisted proposers in September. And again, we're moving forward with the process. Anticipating a notice to proceed with our selected design builder in quarter 3 of 2026. Again, allowing us to get to a point where we can make that selection, go through the whole registration process of their contract. But again, quarter 3 of 2026. With that, again, with that consolidated schedule, by selecting that design build firm, we're anticipating the start of construction in quarter 1 of 2028. And then construction completion in quarter 3 of 2030. Project budget that we currently have allocated is approximately $160 million. And on the slide here, we provided the 3 vendors that we are in shortlist with. Skanska, with WXY or Clarewise Architect, Walsh Construction Company with Jacobs. And Weeks Marine with Kiewit Engineering. So again, the Greenway is going to connect the various ESCO projects that you're all very familiar with. So on the northern side, again, Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk, that would help tie in the project area 2 with like Staff Coast Park, for example. And then on the southern side, it would be connecting to East River Park. So next slide, please. All right. So I mentioned it's an in-water structure. I do want to again reiterate the flyover bridge is a concept that would not work due to the Con Edison pier that you have on 14th Street. It did create a very narrow profile, that 4-foot wide pinch point that we are trying to alleviate. And so what we're doing, or what we're planning on doing, is providing a in-water structure that goes around the Con Edison pier, that would also allow for a much wider pathway for both pedestrians and bicycle paths, which we're very excited about, since we want to open that to the community and prevent everyone from hitting each other in that 4-foot wide pinch point. I think I forgot to mention, this is a DVC project working in collaboration with Parks, actually Melissa. But I bring that up because it's with design build, it's also very, like, one of the reasons why this project was selected for design build is because it requires a very collaborative natured environment. And so we're working with parks to develop all of these requirements and ensure that this project is great for the community. But we're working with DOT as well to make sure that we're meeting all of their requirements. We're meeting with the Coast Guard, Army Corps of Engineers, since this is out in the water, along with DEC, Department of Environmental, I'm forgetting, there you go, DEC. We're working with DEP with all of our stormwater items. MTA is going to be a big partner in this as well, because naturally our Greenway Connector project will be running above the 14th Street MTA tunnel. So we'll need to navigate around their tunnel just to make sure that we're not penetrating any holes in their tunnels, of course. And of course, Con Ed is another major partner in this, since that facility, even though it's again creating this 4-foot wide pinch point for this community now, it's serving a very important purpose for your community, as well as majority of Manhattan. This station itself is serving electricity and heating for all of Lower Manhattan, leading up all the way to Upper Manhattan. So we want to make sure that whatever we design works with Con Ed. We don't want to interrupt any of that service. And so we have to have a very close partnership with them. And so also wanted to just specify what are we bringing into this in-water structure, again, benches, just to make sure that people can appreciate some of the scenery as they walk down this path. Trash receptacles, we don't want any clutter or any litter happening, so we'll be having those trash receptacles and a drinking fountain as well, just to make sure everyone stays hydrated. Next slide. So on the south side of our greenway or the northern part of East River Park, what you have on your screen again is a very high level proof of concept. We are not at that stage where we can share any conceptual designs. We'll come back at a later point to share with our selected design builder what that design would look like. But what we're envisioning is tying in this greenway to East River Park. One of the items that I wanted to highlight for you all, we're all very excited about this new coastal resiliency project, opening this up for the community. I just want to get ahead of it. Since we are tying into this location, we will need to have a separated section just for our contractor to mobilize or stage their materials, to use any barges to go out into the water to complete the construction of the project. And so the basketball court area on the northern side of East River Park that we're all excited to get will be closed until the end of our construction. The ESCO team will be doing all of the subsurface work throughout that area as well. We'll be taking on the surface elements just to open that up to the community after we're done with our construction. However, during our construction, I do want to reiterate that 4-foot wide pinch point will remain open throughout the entire construction, so that the community can use that entire area, and also be able to access the East River Park, the new project that we're moving forward with. We'll also use this area since we do have a lot of these utilities. We'll be using this area to tie in with all of our utilities. So again, that's getting more so than the nitty-gritty. But this is again the southern part of our agreement. And then next slide, please. On the northern side, the requirements that we set out for our shortlist proposers was that the northern side of the greenway must connect to Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk, where there is a 10-foot wide section, just to make sure that there's a seamless transition from our greenway to Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk. Again, for that intermediate section will remain open. I do want to stress that we do not have the funding to make any remediations to Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk. Our project is strictly focused on building the in-water structure and how it abuts to both of the areas. But we do not anticipate any closures whatsoever during our construction, except maybe a few days here and there as we're working on that one area where we're connecting, our greenway. And I do also want to mention that due to some of the Con Ed operations, there will be some intermittent closures after we're done with construction, just to make sure that, again, the community is safe, and so that Con Ed can complete their operations. But of course, that section with the 4-foot wide pinch point will remain open again during our construction and also after our construction, so everyone can choose which path they want to go down. So that's where I'll end.
Okay, thank you. So members of the committee who has questions? Carlin?
I have several questions, actually. What is the length of that span? And also, I use the West Side Greenway almost on a daily basis. And there is an in-water bike lane but it's only for bikes. There are no pedestrians allowed, technically allowed. And you're gonna allow pedestrians on this greenway, this in-water structure. Is it gonna be a physical barrier separating pedestrians from bikes?
We'll have some type of, not necessarily a barrier, but there will be a clear distinction between the pedestrians and the cyclists. So to answer your question.
It sounds like a disaster to me, really, because you know, we do have a lot of tourism in the city, and people will be like what happened on the Brooklyn Bridge. You know, people are moving from, you know, it's only a white line from the sand there, and people are moving back to South Beach. There have been too many collisions. That's why they opened up the whole roadway. I said this, like, on the west side in water like that, the walls are only about 3.5, 4 feet high. And so you have a collision, the bicycle is going into the water.
So just to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, we're following DOT requirements. And so they have standards for separated cyclists and pedestrian use. So my memory serves me right, there is like a raised surface just for the pedestrian path. So you do have some sort of barrier, but we'll look into it to make sure that we have like some type of separations between the two.
Yeah, Susan, would you like, please take this back?
Of course.
Because this is it's very heavily used. And especially with runners coming down from, back and forth between Side Cove Park and East River Park. There's a tremendous amount of traffic there, especially in the evenings when visibility is not great. And so this is definitely potentially a big safety concern.
And I'd say our board also has a position that we think protected bike lanes are safer.
Perfect. We'll take that back.
Dan?
I did that one. So, I mean, we've been working on this since well before even Superstorm Sandy, like, and all of the resiliency work.
1990.
Yes. Because it's always been a problem, but my question, because this came up during the Blue Wave planning, is they told us this wasn't possible because of the fuel barges. So you showed in one of the diagrams the fuel barge outside this greenway. When that's happening, is this still operational? Like, can people, pedestrians and bikes still use this greenway when Con Ed has a fuel barge?
No, because that's when it would be unsafe. However, again, we're working with Con Ed to see what that would look like in terms of the schedule, from a schedule standpoint. To our knowledge, or from what Con Ed has said to us, that fuel barge only comes during severe weather conditions.
Okay.
And so they don't necessarily have a direct schedule either. But we're trying to minimize that closure by working with them. Again, one of the beauties of the whole design build process is that we're looking for the right team, but that right team also has to demonstrate to us how they plan on working around these fuel operations. And so they'll have to demonstrate that to us while we're meeting with them. And so that's all part of the consideration. But to answer your question, this would be closed during any fuel operations, just let me see. Okay. Okay,
The
I-
previous slide, so I can do a quick thinking. Sure.
I think the next slide, do you want the southern part or the northern part?
Well, that thing with the green bar in the water. The previous slide. Yeah.
This one, this one?
Yeah.
Say, Ethan, could you send this spec and the previous one to the office?
Yeah, it'll also be, it's also posted online on the EDC website.
So I have a question before we take any questions from the public. So this design build process, so we just had a presentation about something that is being designed through the traditional process and we'll go to the PDC and all of that. What happens to the design of this? Is there a point where it's fixed? Does it go to the PDC? Is it reviewed? And all of that?
Absolutely. The process doesn't change. We still have to go through all the different regulatory approvals, including Public Design Commission. All of that would work. The conceptual PDC presentation and the preliminary PDC presentation, including the community board, would happen in phase one before we even do any construction. We want to make sure we're doing it right. Before we start something and then have to remediate. So to answer your question, yes, process stays the same. We'll still have the opportunity for the community to look at the design and the comment.
So you all will be back over the years to let us know, how much design is evolving and how you would choose contractor and all of that. And then my other question is if you could go 2 slides, I think, to the part where it connects to East River. Yeah.
Sorry, this one?
Right, yes. So, given the timeline that you showed, are we expecting that basketball court will not be built until sometime after 2030?
Correct.
And so what will happen to that space between 2026 and 2028 when this project starts? Is it just going to be a fenced off area? Will we, the public, have any access to it? In the past, that area of East River Park has been a very popular fishing and picnic spot, and so what does that look like for us?
So we're working with the escrow team from the GDC and everyone here to navigate through those requirements. Since they're only doing the subsurface, we're going to have that fenced off for after they reopen the park until we're done with our construction.
So, Ethan, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you guys have any sense yet of how long it would take to construct the basketball courts after the Overwater Greenway is completed?
We're taking on the basketball.
Oh, okay.
So in 2030.
Well, then you're off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the hook.
So we're doing all the service elements in the area.
Okay.
So the spray shower, the basketball courts, the drinking fountain in that area, we're taking that onto our project.
So do you have any idea roughly when we would be able to have full use of that space?
We don't have a specific schedule yet, so we don't have a selected team. So I would just say Q3 of 2030 would be the final turnover, since we want to make sure that we are opening this pathway.
So are you going to do that in parallel with the path? Okay, so it's not subsequent to, like, you have to open the pathway.
Correct.
Okay, so 2030 we would be looking at sometime in 2030. Okay, thank you. All right, those are my, Nancy, go ahead.
I just have a question because you brought up design build. Do you all have you done another design build?
Oh, yeah, we're actually very excited about the program. We've had several at DVC. I actually ran one of them at Orchard Beach Maintenance and Operations Building. That was a very, very fast paced, very exciting project to turn over very quickly to the NYC Parks.
I guess one of the concerns or two of the concerns with design build is that there's less flexibility to potentially change design later on and or you get shortchanged because you're trying to fit, not you, but because we're trying to fit within a budget. And then the materials at the end could potentially be inferior. So how would you mitigate?
So our contract, so our RFP spells out all the different requirements that we've identified with our owner's rep, with parks, with DOT, to identify all the different requirements for building this in water structure. We want this greenway, we want shared use of pedestrian and cyclists. I'm being very high level. It was over 100 pages long to specify exactly what we want, out of this structure. And so the beauty of design build is that they get to be creative, with providing us with the solution to those requirements. I wouldn't say that we're shortchanged in design. It is still a very iterative and collaborative process during phase one services. So I think we've been rather successful with our cycle program.
It's good to hear you have things.
And then I would just like to suggest, this is CB3 and CB6.
Right.
So I'd like to suggest that after we get a council person, maybe we do joint meetings with CB6 and your council person and revisit look at the whole plan. What could be done.
So just on that point, we did present to Community Board 6 on September 29th, just.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is getting everyone in the same room, including our council members, and we don't have a council member.
Okay, understood.
Okay, are there any questions from the public? Yes, Christina?
Yeah, so is this fully funded and funded it?
I'm forgetting the source.
I think
Is it Con Ed?
No, the funding source is all from the city, but in terms of, where it came from, I know additional, some of it was part of the original ESCR funding. There had always been an amount like earmarked for the Flyover Bridge project, which is now this. But it is all city funds.
It is all city funds.
A combination of mayoral and.
Yeah, I think so too, maybe. Or one of that might be some projects, but it is all city funded.
So no chance somebody's gonna take that project away from us.
Quick question, I don't know if you mentioned this, but why 10 feet wide? Can you make that bigger?
Sorry, we're connecting to Captain Patrick J. Brown Wall where it is 10 feet wide, so since we're not doing any remediations. We didn't want to tie it into anything smaller than 10 feet.
No, I'm talking about if it's possible to make it bigger.
For Captain Patrick J. Brown Wall.
Well, I mean, like, if you could, I understand what you're saying, but can you like make it wide, like just
So
expand it?
Our in-water structure is going to be 32 feet wide in this specific area, and then on the northern side. In between, it's gonna be 25 feet. But again, where we terminate at Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk is where we're targeting that 10-foot wide. Mainly because that's an existing condition and we can't expand on that, we don't have the funding for.
So it'll be 10 feet wide, so it'll be split like 5 feet for pedestrian, 5 feet for cyclists, like.
For Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk, since we're not necessarily doing any work on that, we're not separating the pedestrians and cyclists. We're focused more so on the in-water structure where we'll have that separated.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Fanny, I
Yeah.
think what he's saying is that the entrance that comes off Specco will only be 10 feet wide. But the greenway itself will be 25 to 30 feet, depending on what part of it you're in. So the entryway will be narrow because of that. But the thing itself, the greenway itself will be larger.
But exactly how wide is the surface, so is it 25 feet that?
For our in-water structure, it would be 32 feet wide in this area here where you have the green. And then right by the Thomas Pier would be 25 feet wide.
25 feet wide, so that'll be split between both cyclists and pedestrians. Okay, so I got confused, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, the 10 feet wide is Captain Patrick J. Brown Walk.
Okay, I see, okay, I thought 10 feet was the actual roadway, but it's 25 feet, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another agenda item, so I think we have one more question online from Wendy, is that correct, Susan?
Yeah, let
And then we're going to move on to our last.
I think she can, I think.
Yeah.
Wendy-
Yeah. Hi. Oh, just wondered, is this akin to the connector at 52nd to 62nd Street? I ask that because it's elevated. Is this one also elevated or is this one more on the surface of the water? And then I have an amenity question.
Now, this is definitely elevated, we're designing this to, the design plan elevation for, 100 years, so we'll be well elevated, over the water.
Okay, and there's no shade on it, once again, and lots of concrete. So I'm wondering if misters can be added where the drinking fountain is, at least. I think that's been an interesting way to deal with it by the field, which is turf. But if there's any way to help mitigate the heat in advance, I think that would be really helpful for people. That's going to be broiling out there.
I appreciate that feedback. We'll just add that to you.
Thank you.
Is there any green on the way?
Is there any green on it anyway?
Like,
So.
do some planters like they have on the one outside and you want to just.
So within our proof of concept, what we wanted was this connector. That's the most important part to make sure we alleviate that 4-foot wide pinch point. However, part of the design build process with our shortlist proposers is, since it's a very competitive process, we list out enhancements that they get to choose which ones they want to provide us with their proposal to stand out versus the other competitors. And one of the highest priority, or the highest priority, is landscape. To make sure that we can provide that.
And I think this is a great, because due to the complexity of it, it's great, you're not having to stick with low bidder. Great.
Yeah, that's
Great,
that.
thank you.
I, thank you very much. One more question?
Very quick follow.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Wendy online to say, but you're gonna have misters on the bike path?
That's what Wendy was suggesting to provide.
It's 30 feet wide, there's not a lot of room there. When you're physically on it, is, it's not, it's football feet wide, it's only 30 feet. But you have two-way bike traffic, you have pedestrians, you're planning to put benches there, and now someone wants to put trees on it, it's no longer a bike path.
Understood. So again, we'll take it back. We want to look through all the logistics, but also work around all the different Con Ed operations. But I think nonetheless, it's a little bit of suggestion. We'll see if we can add it and how that would fit into our design.
Okay, thank you. I think you've gotten some good feedback about concerns about traffic conflicts and the safety there, about shade and, usability of the space, what is the surface going to be like, so if you can start to think through some of those things, and next time you come back, we can talk about those more, that would be great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We were very glad to get this update. So that is the end of our presentations. Final item is to discuss our district's needs statement and budget priorities. Can Trevor, Trevor can share? Yes, I asked this. Good, okay, so just to present this, excuse me. So most of the committee members know this, but just to present to everyone else and online. We are mandated every year to vote on a district needs statement and budget priorities for the committees. The committee has already finalized their district needs statement. It was worked on for at least 4 months, and that's been finalized. We now have budget priorities. What's different this year, which took us 2 years of work to make happen. We no longer, as in past years, make one list and rank it. Because then we're kind of pitting things against each other. What we're doing from now on is just we're voting on priorities for every agency and only ranking them within an agency. So we're never ranking like parks against like sanitation or something like that, or what we're doing in this committee, it's almost all parks anyway, but we're just making a list for each priority. What I did to prepare for you is I took all of last year's priorities that have not been funded. So Trevor and I have met previously with parks and gone through a chart they prepared to let us know everything that's funded. So we took what's left from last year that's not funded. And then we included priorities that the community board funded that wasn't necessarily parks priorities, like for instance, the Stanton Street Park House. So what we're looking at now is that list that's been edited to show what we still have, and it's in the priorities that you voted on last year. So you can change, it's in the ranking. So you can change them if you want, but this is what you voted on in the past as far as ranking. So
You wanna, I suggest that we just go through each one, you wanna do that?
Okay.
So the first one is, been a priority for this committee for a very long time. And it's to reconstruct the first floor of the Manhattan Storehouse, to be used by the community. Right now, it's being used as storage for, I believe, all of Manhattan. And we want it to be a resource for community Ward 3. Parks is looking at this, but they haven't decided yet or come to any conclusion. On exactly how it should be used, whether they go with our suggestion of a nonprofit running programs. But it's definitely on the list, and so it's our highest priority. Number 2 is the Allen Pike Street malls. They've been funded 1 and 2 at a time. We still have 2 that are completely unfunded. So some of the others, the construction still needs to be done, but they're funded. So we have 2 malls that still need to be funded. Pier 42, which we've had on for a very long time. We voted years ago to be able to do that in phases. And we are now in phase 2. So it is used by the community, but we have a further design and plans that we voted on that we want to keep on the agenda. The next one is community garden. So these are all capital needs, by the way. Community garden capital needs. We did not get anything from the gardens, but this was on from last year. Pullman Oval Playground. They still need play equipment. There's an explanation there of exactly how the money would be spent. Next one is the bathroom for Pier 35. We have been told that technically it can't be done, because they are able to do the drainage and sewers and everything. But there's still to be something done, but even if it's porta potties or something, so we kept it on the list. The next one that's not funded is the Montgomery East Broadway Triangle Park area. And that one is sidewalks, so Parks is responsible for sidewalks outside the park, so we're asking for the parks to be replaced. Sarah Miller Park, we still need funding for the reconstructed park pathways from Greater Street to Delancey Street, the brick walls and the sidewalks and some other areas. You should jump in and put in any comments. Seward Park, the playgrounds need to be renovated, they're heavily used. Alfred E. Smith Recreation Area, there has been some reconstruction, but now they need an elevator to make the second floor accessible. Seward Park Historic Ship Fountain needs reconstruction. The next one I'm actually going to ask Lynn because he was investigating this. On Tompkins Square Park, we had asked for the sidewalks outside the park to be replaced. Did you decide it could be patched instead or what?
I think some of them can be patched and there's this like wider issue, which is a lot of empty tree pits that I think it should either have a tree or it should be paved over for saying that it's gonna be for the flowers.
Can I chime in?
Of course.
So there's an issue with the DEP, like lines they're sinking and a lot of the drainage is very poor. So that's why the trees are dying. And there's a need for better drainage on that whole side of the park and another sustainable water source on that side of the park. We recently lost access to water when we had an issue in one of the playgrounds. And we realized most of the water lines are connected to the building, which has brand new pumps, but all the water lines are a lot older. So, the whole park went down and we only had Avenue B side for a while. And so the dog run went down, the playground and all of the water connections for Lower East Side Ecology's gardens near Avenue A.
So Therese, what we're talking about is Avenue A. And the empty tree pits, we do not want trees on. This board has done a resolution saying it's in the middle of the farmer's market. It's very unsafe. We've seen pictures. And we want the empty tree pits between 7th and St. Mark's filled in. And then if you want to put bioswales, which has been discussed between St. Mark's and 10th, that is fine, but that's what we're talking about right now. We've done walkthroughs.
through there.
So what I'm asking is a funding issue. So for the sidewalk, first of all, we're talking about the sidewalk. So we should, it sounds to me like we should keep it on the list and say it either has to be repaired or reconstructed. Does that sound?
I think, yeah, it's about the sidewalk that's caving into the street because of those DEP lines underneath. So it's like kind of infrastructure and sidewalk is what I'm trying to add to the list because I think it's causing the sidewalk problem is all the infrastructure underneath is failing.
So we'll keep it on the list, and maybe change it. Maybe we'll change it to say.
You hear?
What, Therese, can you mute? Therese, can you mute yourself?
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, so I think it sounds like from what I'm hearing from everybody in parks that we should keep it on the list, but maybe not be so specific and say it needs to be repaired. And they need to look at patching or reconstruction.
I actually would say we could be a little more specific because there's two distinct issues, right? There's places where the sidewalk is damaged. And then there's this call for filling in the tree pits with pavement because it's used as a market space. And so it's kind of two separate things, which have two separate solutions.
Want to get be a dangerous spot? Could have danger, or the things.
Sorry,
It could be a danger, it could be a danger, could cause that,
I think you could add in some of the justifications if you wanted, because it's kind of, we're saying that it's meant to be like this pure walkway to make sure that people are able to access this market. And, you know, we had trees there, that's a good idea, but it's no longer relevant for this use case.
So. Can we say, have a justification about how dangerous it is, which it is? They actually put cones around it and everything else. So can we say that the sidewalks and need to be fixed, whether it's patching or reconstruction, and the tree pits between 7 and 8 need to be filled in?
Yeah, I think those two separate lines of effort would be all.
So there should be two different things. Start at empty tree. And just be on that one block, yeah, yes, empty tree pits, yes, I'll say that.
And I think I can make a quick mock-up of the, you know, we have a footprint of the green market, and I think what we're talking about is the tree pits that follow the footprint of the green market. If there's randomly another tree pit, we should get a tree.
Yes. And have them be basketballs. So now we're going into the park expense items. And this is actually where the new agency list is going to be very helpful to parks, because in the past, the park expense items kept getting shut down. Now they'll be on their own list. And we have the same ones every year, and they're still incredibly needed. One is more park maintenance staff. One is more funding for recreation programs, including playground associates. And today I got the whole list of eligible playgrounds. And I think we should list all of them and say they all need to be staffed. Because a lot of kids in our community don't go where you can. Additional parks enforcement police, I think a lot of the issues you hear around here is that people say they don't see the PEP officers. I'm sorry. And you know, we want more PEP officers, increased funding for green thumb staff. And increased funding for forestry staff, tree pruning and stump removal. Is that also proper language?
Take it all.
Well, I just want to make sure we're saying it properly.
it's, yeah.
Control.
It's.
Control, okay. Got it.
I don't see gardeners on there. Is that a part of?
Said garden.
Yeah, that wasn't actually brought up when we had our meeting with Steve and everybody. Parks didn't bring that up. So I don't know, possibly that goes under parks maintenance staff, would it not go under there? Or no?
Can we add a sentence about gardeners?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're not talking, it's helpful when you're not talking to this, you mute. Yeah, we could say including gardeners.
With the forestry stuff.
Or number one,
I think with the mid.
yeah.
It's gardeners is.
Sorry, Zachary, what did?
For my, it's for
So when we met, so like I said, Trevor and I met with Trish and Steve and went through all the expense and all that, and I think if we. They didn't separate that out, so I think if we put it in there, but specifically specify that. Because I think for budgeting, I think that's. You can say you want some of the funding for the staff to be particularly garden staff.
I think it would make sense to have that specificity because it's different titles and it's all maintenance in a way, but you know, if you want more attention to the horticultural beds and we hire people who are more focused on trash or like bench painting or something like that. You know, the priorities change.
Yeah, it's also an opportunity recently I wanted to mention. Can I mention it real quick? We have a training program for gardeners, and there's going to be a lot of people coming out of it, and a test that just happened for gardeners. And we don't have many lines for gardeners in this district with so many gardens. So every time I get a gardener, it's like a drop in a bucket for all of the horticulture areas we have that are so beloved. So it'd be great to expand our horticulture team in CB3.
So I'll add at the end, increase funding for gardeners, so.
Gardeners are the ones that take care of the garden. They get a staff.
They get paid. They get staff, yeah, these are staff, that's a funded staff.
That's why we have to ask for the money. No, okay, because I know two people that they take care of the.
Those are volunteers. You're talking about volunteers.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. They don't.
That's totally separate.
Yeah, these would actually be.
For the farm.
Yeah, okay, that's different.
Fortunately, I'll fair amount, but fortunately, unfortunately, a fair amount of the beautiful stuff we have in the parks is from volunteer efforts. Right now, we have one gardener that's out of Sarah D. And we'll do odd jobs all over where we need them. And then we have one gardener that just got maybe a month ago for East River Park in Pier 42. But like Tompkins probably deserves a gardener, right? Probably a lot of other parks need it. And it's, I don't think it's great that we have to rely on the wonderful people doing all this work.
Volunteers in addition to, so. So that's it, so do you want to, the issue is, so we need to vote, the district needs statement and this. Do you want to change any of the rankings, or do you want to leave them as they have been?
I have a quick question, Susan, it said Rivington to Delancey was removed, does that mean that it's funded, is it part of the RFP for the bathrooms, or?
So we went through, I'll show you the chart we went through, Parks made up a chart for us of everything. Like this, capital one side expense. These are things that are left that need to be done that are not funded. You could take a look at pass it on.
I just didn't know, because we had, like, that block is currently not, I didn't know that it was part of anything.
So these are what's left that's not funded.
Okay.
I would just mention, are these rankings from the prior year that's still, that's on, I think for me, I'm good with being.
Yeah, I mean, you could ignore, obviously, renumbered it, so. Yeah, I mean,
You guys are fine with that.
Trevor usually does this thing about, we've worked on the ranking many times, you know, to do that.
Well, that's it. Do we agree that Sarah Roosevelt Park should that be number one? Yes.
Well, can I say this committee, if they were here? This committee has fought for that Stanton Street Park House to even get it on the list. And that's been a priority of this community. Not personally anything, you know, I have on my agenda, but it has been a community priority for ages. And it took a lot of work of people in this community, community board, elected officials and others in the community to get it even, parks to even get it on their list.
Gotcha. Teresa is really passionate about the Thompson Square Park request. Should that be passed?
Yeah.
Be further up.
What, the sidewalks? and
Yeah.
stuff? To me, it's a danger issue. It's a safety issue.
Yeah.
It's the only, it's not aesthetic or anything else, it's just a safety issue. So it's whatever. You guys-
I can, I don't know if you can hear me.
Everybody that wants to speak.
If, with that being at 12 and it being a dangerous issue, I can see moving that up, in the 7, 8, 9 area. A lot of the stuff that's at 1 through 5, maybe 6 have been here so long and we need to keep advocating for them. But, as you mentioned, it's a safety issue, so that should probably move up, at least 3 spots, if not more.
I could go with that.
So move it to 7. Move it to spot 7, everyone's good with that?
You guys, hey, we're talking about moving one of the priorities up for the Tompkins Square sidewalks, because it's dangerous. With the condition of the sidewalk, are you opposed to moving it up?
Right.
To 7,
So we're going from 12 to 7 now.
okay.
The other thing is to add, as discussed in the expense, either at 2 or 3, the Gardner issue. I think it's important, and Teresa's outlined that, but to add that to expense, I don't want to move PEP too far down, because as Susan mentioned, that's what we hear from everyone about the lack of PEP. So I think that just needs to be added to the list.
So added as a new item is what being suggested, added gardens.
We did that, we just did that, but it's on the bottom, so where do you wanna put it?
Let's put it at 2.
I wouldn't do that. Did I see, I suggested playground.
Yes, okay, we got associates from reporting.
So then,
4.
Wow.
I don't want to lower the PEPs because that's the main thing we hear about. I think number 4 is good.
okay, so we're adding gardeners to number 4 in the expense.
It's number 4.
That's number 4. Those confused, I don't know.
Every park expense issue is really important. So can you vote?
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready? Anybody ready? Alright, we're good.
Ready?
Okay, go ahead, let's vote.
Want to see the chart?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wants to really proud. I know the actual board is on the listing, right? For something else.
We're voting on what's on the screen.
Because we're right over it, I can't see that.
Yeah, so
We went on, right.
Robert Holland here. We are voting, this is the vote for the minor changes we made to the priorities.
It's a vote for the whole district needs and the priorities as you have now ranked them.
Yes, and we made only 2 changes in those priorities, okay? Okay, so.
Also attendance.
Yes, we can do it this, can we double this as? Yes.
Okay.
That's all there. It's in the meeting.
Absent. Diane Lake.
Yes.
Ryan Gillett, yes. David Adams.
Yes.
Colin Shan.
Yes.
Catherine Freed. Absent. Valentina Jones.
Yeah.
Nancy Kong.
Yes.
Daisy Fayette.
Yes.
Daniel James. Yes. And yes.
President,
Yeah.
they kill it.
Okay. Wait, be quiet. Zachary Thomas.
Yes.
Josephine Velez.
I wanna know what happened to the triangle park that was on.
It's on there.
We're not really
That's when I think it's not. Okay, yeah.
It's there. She said, yeah.
Okay, what's there? Absent. Roger Lanian, absent. Howard Ned, absent. Thank you. Okay, everybody.
We have been on them.
At the end, these words, I thought you probably comment on.